I am Hugo de Montclair, and though my beard is now white as snow, I must carry on with my tale. For what we began as a small band of poor knights had in my lifetime grown into a power that stretched across Christendom. The spreading of the temple. When first we took our vows, none could have imagined what we would become. Yet within a generation, the order had spread like wildfire. From Scotland to Sicily, from Portugal to Poland, men wore the white mantle and red cross. Our commanderies rose in every land. Some were humble farms, others strong stone castles. Each served the same purpose, to gather strength for the Holy Land. Grain, coin, horses, weapons, all flowed eastward, carried by our networks. Pilgrims could now travel more safely, knowing they might rest in a Templar house, guarded and fed. But we did more than guard pilgrims. Soon lords and kings entrusted us with their wealth. A man could deposit coin in Paris and reclaim it in Acre, for we Templars had devised letters of credit. It was safer than carrying gold through bandit-ridden lands. Thus, unwillingly, we became bankers to the world. Our honesty gave us trust, and trust gave us power. Yet with each chest of coin my unease deepened. Poverty had been our vow. But gold has a weight heavier than iron, and even knights are not free from its temptation. In 47, Christendom rose again in arms. The Second Crusade, they called it. Kings themselves took the cross, Louis of France, Conrad of Germany. Our order, still young yet already strong, was called upon to march beside them. I remember the journey through Asia Minor, a land of mountains and treachery. The Saracens harried us day and night, striking swift, vanishing into hills. Many crusaders fell unaccustomed to such war. Yet we Templars, trained in discipline, held firm. Shield walls, tight formations, patience, these were our weapons as much as sword and lance. At Damascus we fought bitterly, though the siege failed. It was the first time I saw dismay spread among the Crusaders. Kings returned home in shame, but we Templars endured, for our vow was not tied to the success of any one crusade. Whether victory or defeat, our duty remained the same: to guard the roads, to defend the pilgrims, to hold the line. Lionheart years later came another great war, the Third Crusade. By then I was old, yet still bore arms. The world knew new names: Saladin, the Sultan whose brilliance united the Saracens, and Richard the Lionheart, King of England, whose courage burned like fire. I recall Acre, its walls battered, its streets drowned in blood. We Templars held the line when all seemed lost. At Arsuf, I rode with the Lionheart himself. The Saracen horsemen swirled around us, their arrows like rain, their drums like thunder. Richard gave the order, and our knights charged. I saw Saracen ranks break before the fury of the Temple and the King of England together. Yet victory was never whole. Jerusalem, the prize of all crusades, eluded us. Treaties were signed, truces sworn, pilgrims allowed, but the holy city remained beyond our grasp. It was a bitter truth, though one we bore in silence. As the years passed, our order grew ever richer, ever stronger. Kings borrowed from us, popes relied upon us, and pilgrims blessed us. Yet with power came suspicion. Some whispered that we had grown arrogant. Others claimed we sought to rule not only the roads, but kingdoms themselves. In taverns I heard rumors that we guarded treasures beyond measure. Relics of saints, fragments of the true cross, perhaps even the cup of Christ himself. Did we? I shall not say. Perhaps truth, perhaps myth. The temple does not reveal its secrets lightly, but I will confess this. Within our vaults lay objects brought from the Holy Land, relics too holy or too dangerous for common eyes. I touched some with my own hands, wrapped in cloth, sealed away from the world. What they were I cannot speak, for even memory feels heavy with their weight. Of an old knight. Thus the temple rose from 9 poor knights to a brotherhood spanning continents. We fought in deserts and on fields. We prayed in chapels and bled on stones. We held the trust of kings, the envy of lords, and the devotion of pilgrims. But in my heart I cannot silence a question. Did we remain true to our first vow, or did power twist us, as power twists all men? In battle I never doubted. In prayer I sought peace. But in the counting of coin and the building of castles, I feared we were no longer poor knights of Christ, but lords in all but name. Still I believe we served a greater cause. The temple was never meant for one man, nor for glory, nor for wealth. It was meant to stand as a wall against chaos, as a light upon the road. And in that, we did not fail. Now as my hand trembles upon this parchment, I know my days grow short. Yet the story of the temple is far from its end. Already I sense the winds shifting. Kings grow wary of us, envious of our strength. Whispers follow us in every hall. What was once trust turns slowly to fear. But that, my friend, is a tale for another time. For the rise of the temple was glorious, but its fall, its fall will shake the world. I am Hugo de Montclair, and my tale now turns to sorrow. For as bright as was the rise of the temple, so dark was its fall. The loss of the Holy Land, the years turned, and with them the fortunes of Christendom. Jerusalem, the city that had been the heart of our vow, slipped from our grasp. One by one the strongholds of Outremer fell. Antioch, Edessa, Acre. I was old when Acre burned. The year was 1291. The sea itself seemed to scream as Saracen fire consumed our last refuge. Brothers died upon the walls, their mantles torn, their blood mingling with the sand. I was far from the city by then, but word reached me like a knife in the chest. With Acre's fall, our mission in the Holy Land was broken. No more pilgrims walked the roads of Judea. No more fortresses guarded the deserts. The Holy Land was lost, and with it, the purpose that had forged us. We returned to Europe not as warriors, but as stewards. Our commanderies remained, our lands fertile, our coffers full. Kings borrowed from us, merchants entrusted us. Peasants worked our fields. Yet without the Holy Land, many began to ask, why does the temple still exist? We were knights without a battlefield, monks without a cloister. Our power grew in wealth, not in blood. And wealth is a dangerous master. The King of France, among those who looked upon us with envy, was the King of France, Philip IV, called the Fair, though his soul was anything but. He owed us debts so vast that even his crown seemed pledged to the temple. And a king, I have learned, will suffer no master but himself. Philip began to whisper against us. He spread rumors that we worshipped idols, that we spat upon the cross, that our vows hid secret sins. Lies, but lies grow quickly when watered by envy. I heard them myself in taverns. The temple guards the head of Baphomet, they said. They deny Christ in secret. They consort with demons. None of it true. Yet the more the lies were spoken, the more men believed. Rest. Then came the day I shall never forget. It was Friday, the 13th of October, in the year of our Lord 1307. At dawn, across all of France, soldiers of the king struck. Brothers were dragged from their beds, shackled, beaten, thrown into dungeons. Some resisted, but most were caught unawares. In a single day the temple was broken. I, by fortune or by curse, was not among those taken. My age had kept me far from the centers of power, yet the cries of that day echo in me still. What followed was worse than battle. Under torture, confessions were torn from the mouths of brothers. They admitted to heresies they never believed, sins they never committed, worship of idols they had never seen. I knew these men. I had prayed beside them, fought beside them. I could not believe their confessions. Yet the church listened. Perhaps some truly broken spirit, others spoke to end their pain, and some words were twisted by the scribes of kings. The Grand Master himself, Jacques de Molay, stood before his judges. Proud he was, steadfast, even as the flames awaited him. He denied the lies, affirmed the temple's truth, and went to the pyre with the name of Christ on his lips. I was there in Paris when the fire was lit. The smell of smoke carried across the sand. Molay's voice rang out, cursing the king and the pope to meet him before God's throne within a year. And so it was said, and so indeed it came to pass. Thus ended the temple. Our lands seized, our wealth plundered, our name dragged through mud. Some brothers fled, hiding in other orders. Some melted into the shadows of Europe. And some, like me, survived only in memory, burdened with the weight of what once was. From 9 poor knights we had risen to the glory of the world, and from that glory we fell into ashes, reflections of an old Templar. Now I sit, quill in hand, an old man haunted by ghosts. I have lived to see the birth, the rise, and the ruin of the temple. Was it pride that destroyed us, or envy of kings? Or was it simply God's will that no order of men may endure forever? I cannot say. I know only this. We Templars were men, not demons, not saints, but men. We fought, we prayed, we bled, we erred, and yet I believe our vow was true, even to the end. If the world remembers us as heretics, and so be it. God knows the truth, and his judgment is all that matters. But if ever you see a white mantle with a red cross, know that once there were men who bore it with honor, who rode into fire and shadow for the sake of a vow. And perhaps in the silence of the night, when the wind stirs the stones of ruined chapels, you may hear our voices still. For though the temple has fallen, the memory of the temple endures.